First Christian Spiritualist Church in November of 2000, and that marks 24 years for Reverend Rosie, and found and experienced a wonderful healing atmosphere. Like many who come to a spiritualist church, Reverend Rosie discovered her true treasure, her spiritual path. It's the foundation for serving humanity. She took many of the classes at First Spiritualist Church that they offered and was ordained a minister on December 11th, 2005. Reverend Rosie Oberlies is a Reiki master and our assistant pastor here at First Christian Spiritualist Church. Reverend Rosie believes we all have come to the earth plane to learn, live, and express the spiritual life while we're on earth, clothed in our physical bodies. So please help me welcome Reverend Rosie Oberlies.
You sound like a full house.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're just being quiet.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking of that bio, how when I first came to the First Spiritualist Church, and I found a treasure. But when I first started to go there, I didn't realize it was a treasure. You don't realize it. So, anyhow, I just thought I'd throw that in. So I'm going to talk about a word, and some words really capture your attention, and it's funny how a word can perk up your ears, You hear something and it's kind of like, wow, You're not even a cat, because a cat is kind of turned when you hear something. And it's kind of like, when you first hear it, and then it becomes meaningful, and it seems to resonate with your DNA or your spirit, Even though you've heard it before, you've never paid attention to it too much, And, but I think you have to be, Oh.
Move this out of the way.
It's a practice service. So I'd like to read, it's a little unity prayer. And it's, people say it when they take calls, from the outer world, and it's called Before I Pray. And it says, before I pray with others today, I surrender human judgment to divine discernment and human willfulness to divine will, and the limitations of my human mind to the limitless wisdom and understanding of divine mind. That has more, this was, it caught, my ear. And the word was discernment. And, I knew it meant discipline, deep thinking, but it was not in my vocabulary. It was kind of a big word, and you kind of put it aside. And it just came to me right now because it was a strong word, because you really have to think. It's learning not to judge, but it makes you really work at it, because discern is, it's another level. And if you're really into the spiritual path, it makes you serious about what you're thinking about. It's discernment is to consider something deeply and thoroughly, a wise way about judging about something or someone, and to ponder is to give it more time for pros and cons, because sometimes you've got to, I don't know about that, and you think, but it sounds good, but I don't understand it. So that means you have to go deeper into thinking because sometimes it's written a certain way, or even our lessons that are pretty channeled, you know, and sometimes we don't understand it, so you have to really be discerning about that. It is a balance of a conclusion or facts coming to a good, honest, integral answer or a solution or understanding someone. We do have problems with people, you know, and sometimes we don't know how to handle them, but then you have to go deeper and discern. Think about it. You go to God, and then He works through you. You have to be patient because it takes time and quiet moments. And when you really take the time for serious thoughts, it surprises you what comes across your mind. And then sometimes you think, well, I don't know about that. It just got to go deeper. You know? But it's opening doors, and that's why we can't give up about, I don't understand it all tomorrow. But you've got, it's like we're here to learn. So that's why, you know, we have to keep that discernment in our vocabulary. What it came to mind to me is like a seed that's planted, you know, in the ground, and you know, you put that seed in there, maybe about that much, but and then that seed has to break open, and then it has to come up through that dirt, you know, and it works its way up to the sun and the air. And then you're elated to see the sprouts, you know, knowing that it'll give you a harvest and it'll give you a reward. But that little guy had to stay in the dark a little bit and, you know, crawl up. But one time, my dad gave me some beans to plant, and I kept asking him about every hour in the hour, when's he coming up, when's he coming up? So a couple of days he went to work, you know, wasn't there, and I thought, we should check it out and see if something's wrong.
Nope.
He says, no, nothing's wrong. You just, you know, you're like your mother, you're patient. But, so when he wasn't there, I thought, well, if I dig up here, he'll see the mess, you know. So I dug down, went sideways, and that sprout, you know, had opened up, and it was coming through. I went, ooh, he's coming, you know? Yeah, so that's what I mean. Sometimes when we discern, we have to work at that, you know. And that growth period, it takes time. And just like our lives grow, just like in our lives growth, that renews and rewards our minds, and it takes time. And you draw a deeper closeness to the door of the mind of God. People don't think about the mind of God within you, but what is that inner voice? It is the mind of God. So you have to open up and allow God to dwell in us and be what He has for you here to do, His purpose. And to surrender your human personal judgment, and I say personal human judgment, because we do have personal judgments too, to divine discernment. And you have to trust, because there'll be questions that you don't quite understand, and allowing yourself to follow His lead for your harvest and to fulfill His reasons for your purpose. You might find how much our minds and our thinking are on weak thoughts. The thoughts that do not nourish your spirit. And you can ask yourself these questions, you know, what thoughts am I thinking about right now? What thoughts are pouring into my mind? What thoughts are dominating my mind? And what thoughts do you dwell on? And how much time do you dwell on problems? That was one of my major lessons. You know, I wouldn't let go of the problem. I wouldn't worry too much. Then you slowly, gently ponder on these questions and let them show you how busy your mind is. And at first, your mind might be so used to, certain thoughts, it's hard to, move out of them. But it takes time. It takes time. And I repeat that a lot because it's true. And the world the way it is, it's so fast, we want everything so quick. We don't take time to just enjoy simple little things. With those questions that you ask, then you can go deeper into divine discernment. And what might be enlightening and nourishing to you, since Thanksgiving is approaching, is to ponder the journey of your life. Because how many Thanksgivings have you had with a lot of memories? Some were great, some were family, problems. And so I think it would be nice if we could take the grace to spiritually reminisce. And not to skim over the journey, go through it quickly. We want to just enjoy it. But there are some times in life people have had difficulties, and so it's kind of a little uncomfortable to reminisce. But just go as far as you can go, and if it starts to make it a little too anxious for you, just go aside and be peaceful and quiet. Because every pondering that you do is healing. Because you're thinking of things and some things that you don't want to think about, or remind you of beautiful times that you've had, too. And when I was preparing for this lecture, it took me back to my high school. And I hadn't thought about that for years. And it was the summer. I graduated in 63, so it was the summer of 63, and I wondered, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to be? What's my future? And my family had, financially they weren't doing well, and I knew I wanted to help. But I didn't stress because at that young age I didn't know what stress was. It's when you go through life and you go up and down and you develop stress, and you don't want to do that. So, but without really, I didn't know what I wanted to do, to tell you the truth. My parents never really said, what would you like to do? So that summer it kind of unfolded, and it just started to fall into place. But I didn't understand the magical path of my future. It opened up when I look back now. Somehow it opened up and everything fell in place. And I thought, wow, why couldn't I see that back then and be appreciative, But I was intimidated by the unknown. But little by little, I was on my way to my first job. And the more I realized I was on a life plan and a sacred contract. And there is a book called A Sacred Contract by Carolyn Miss, which is really nice to read because it talks about before you come into this incarnation, you sign a contract of what you need to learn. Here's Rosie, you gotta learn this, and you pledge and everything. But sometimes we waste time with worry and stress and all that, And there was times when everything was not hunky-dory, There were some life difficulties and not good choices or decisions were included on my life itinerary. And I made it difficult. And I contributed to what was a eventually stressful times. But the stress brought me to the First Spiritualist Church. And being there calmed me down. And then there was a couple of months once when I argued with myself whether to stay or not, and this strong voice said, "You're in the right place. You're in the right place." And I haven't heard that voice too much before that, but that was so strong, that I had to say, okay. So anyhow, I was introduced to Reiki and meditation, and I remember my ears perking up to Reiki, and I thought, wow, they said hands-on healing, and my father always said the body heals itself. My parents got into so many arguments over him going to the doctor, she wouldn't go. But meditation is the door to, and the portal to the mind of God. When you meditate with discernment, you want to comprehend the depth and the meaning of God. You want that compatible relationship, to be free of human judgment, frailties, and to live divine discernment. You desire to see God's world and His people through God's eyes, His understanding and His understanding. And you begin to realize that your past were all stepping stones to this day. That there's nothing that has happened to you in the past, good or bad, sad or anything, that isn't for your benefit, which is kind of hard to accept. But when you discern and go deeper, then you begin to realize, that taught me this, that taught me this, and how grateful for everything and every teaching memory, joyful or sad. And now it is the week of Thanksgiving and almost 2025, on a threshold of a new year. We only got a month and a half or two. So you want to avoid dwelling on problems or challenges and focus on God, not the problem. And you focus on the endless, limitless wisdom and understanding in the mind of God in you. A new year, and a new year for your new inner self, to create new thoughts for a successful new year, and a Thanksgiving that's sincere with gratitude. That's the important thing, But that was kind of my ending, but gee, in the middle of the night, these two things came to me. Reverend Rosie, okay, wait, I'm going to do this. This is from the Bible, John 14, verse 12. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the good works that I do, and greater works than these will he do, because I go to the Father. And then Rosary she gives me these Venture Inward, which is Edgar Casey magazine, and it's the Association Research and Enlightenment, and he talked about Earth changes. And it's just funny, because I had a little pile there, and I thought, I went down below, and I picked this up, and after I read it, because it was the changes, in environment and stuff, and this goes back to 2011, and so I was reading it. So when I came down to this little couple of sentences, I thought, wow, so I'm going to read it to you and see how, hopefully it wows you. Okay, so a lady asked him a question in a reading. And what can I do to help bring about the new age, the new higher consciousness that we're going through? And he answers, you will have to practice it in your own life. And so discernment takes you there, because it's a deeper level. It's like, going from just basic mathematics, and you're good at mathematics, but you have to learn and go to algebra for all that, So anyhow, God bless you all for listening.